What's up, y'all? Welcome into another edition of DNVR Rams Live, presented by our friends at Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com. Use that code BVDNVR for 15% off of your first order. Hope everybody is having a fantastic holiday season. We're going to go down memory lane a little bit today. We're going to relive some of the best moments of the podcast in the calendar year of 2025. It was a good year to be a CSU Ram. I think there's some hope that's returned to the football program despite the really disappointing season. Basketball obviously won their first championship in more than 2 decades. We're going to play a clip from an interview with Ali Farokhmanesh, as well as athletic director John Weber. I'm going to play some clips from the March Madness run, which was still one of my favorite moments in CSU Rams history. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Thank you so much to everybody who supported the show over the last year.
All right, before we turn our attention to this matchup with Memphis, which is going to be really interesting, I'll be honest, there's so many people picking CSU on a national level that it has me feeling incredibly nervous. I don't know what to do with my hands with all these teams, all these bracketologists, all these experts, putting their faith in the Rams. Jay Wright was raving about them the other night before the first 4 broadcasts. RIP San Diego State, that was a tough one. That did not help the Mountain West when it comes to national perception, and coming up short in March. Hopefully we got that one out of the way here, and CSU New Mexico, maybe Utah State. I said it the other day, but I feel like CSU and New Mexico trending the right direction, whereas it kind of felt like San Diego State and Utah State maybe going into the field running on fumes. Not too dissimilar to what we saw from CSU this past season. I mean, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. It's a long stretch. And I think one of the things that gives me the most confidence about CSU at the moment, their depth, their, at the moment, health status, knock on wood, that can change really fast. But obviously, they're just overwhelmingly dominant performances that we've seen from the start. So we'll get into all that. I did briefly want to talk about Nique Clifford a little bit. I wanted to talk about the NBA hype that he's getting. I'll actually have a written feature coming out for diehards that kind of gives some perspective on what NBA scouts, talent evaluators, coaches have been telling about me. I've been picking people's brains since the beginning of the season, and I'm going to give some of that insight in that piece, so keep an eye out on that. Also, keep an eye out if you are looking for somewhere to watch the game. Come on down to the DNVR bar. We're going to have a watch party on Friday afternoon. Should be a lot of fun. Kids are welcome. We got chicken tendies, all kinds of great stuff. Come on through. But I did just briefly, as far as Nique goes, want to talk about his growth since he came over from CU. We're going to play a clip from Tad Boyle here in just a second. But if you missed it, there was a clip that was kind of trending amongst the Denver sports sphere yesterday online. It was from 104.3 The Fan, Zach Bai and Philip Lindsay. I wasn't going to say the show specifically because honestly, my criticism here is less about those two individually and more about the general consensus and the general way that the Denver media just tends to cover CSU, which is how can we find a way to make this about CU and Boulder? Drives me insane. Obviously, we've seen it with football. Everybody has to ask Norvell 8 million ways about the Rocky Mountain Showdown and Dion and all that. And now with CSU as one of the hottest teams in the country, winners of 10 straight, getting all this national love in the college basketball world, Denver radio is too lazy to even talk about that. Like they have to relate it as, well, maybe, CU can steal Nico Medved from CSU, which first of all, wouldn't happen in a million years. There are very few things I feel confidently coming on here and saying that would not happen, period. This is one of them. It's not throwing away 2 decades worth of relationships to go down the road and coach at what is admittedly a shit gig in the Big 12. It's not a good basketball job in the Big 12, guys. It's one of the worst gigs in that conference. That move to the Big 12 made a whole lot of sense for football. It's going to cripple that basketball program. They don't have the resources. They don't have the NIL. They don't have the horses to run in that league. And I don't know. I guess I'm not surprised. You heard comments like, what if CU needs a proven turnaround coach? Could we reach up the road and lure Nico Medved to coach the Buffs? That was Zach Bai. Lindsay says, yeah, I know you're the little brother, but now you can be the big brother with the big dogs. Such a big brother. You had 3 NBA players on the roster last year, still lost. The response from Bai was, we'll give him $10 million or $2 million a year, $2 million a year and double your salary. They couldn't even Google his salary. That's what he makes right now. It's just really lazy, uninformed commentary from people who can't even bother to get on Google to talk about one of the coolest local stories in the country. And again, this is less about those two because they're an example, but I guarantee you there have been 20 other instances of this exact same commentary. So it's not personal with them. I don't really care. I don't listen to the show. I haven't listened to 104.3 since Big Al left and the original Drive lineup changed. I just don't know why any CSU fan at this point would ever listen to Denver sports radio. I've got some good buddies at ALLCITY. I think they do great work. But this is no better than ESPN First Take finding a way to shove LeBron and the Cowboys down your throat. Oh, we're going to talk about CSU basketball, but we're somehow going to relate it to Boulder and Dion and stuff like that. It's super annoying. Admittedly, I'm in my feelings a little bit. I don't have a problem saying it. I think it's bullshit that this is the quality of coverage that CSU gets, and it's a big reason why I think I've been able to grow my show the way that I have, and the reason that CSU fans support me. And I guess it's probably good for me that these guys can't even bother to give us some half-ass commentary on CSU, but I'm just over it. I'm over it. I would say this to their face. I would say that it was uninformed and lazy, so I don't feel like I'm being fake or anything like that. But just ridiculous that's the commentary we're getting when it comes to CSU hoops coverage in this fine city from the radio airwaves, which again, unsurprising, but just disappointing. Nique Clifford getting some top 20 love. He's shown everything that he's needed to this season to be a first round pick. He's grown so much as an offensive creator. His shot making has just been through the roof. The rebounding, the athleticism, the defense, all of that was always going to translate. I just feel like he's refined his bag so much. The most recent mock in The Athletic has him going 15th overall to the Orlando Magic. Direct quote from that. Somewhere in the top 20 feels right for Nique Clifford right now. I've seen people talking about how he has a potential to play his way into the lottery, which how cool would that be? If CSU had a lottery pick, especially as a former Buff that came to Fort Collins and found his groove. I'm being petty now at the moment. I got all fired up, but yes, I love the storyline. I love his origin story. It just adds to the mystique that much more, but he's just such an incredible person. And I'm going to play a quote here from Tad Boyle, kind of talking about if it stings to lose Nique or not. A lot of great quotes in here. I will say it's easy to say this type of stuff now, but your actions speak louder than words. CU ran Nique off, which he didn't exactly say that, but he talked about how Cody Williams' recruitment played a big factor. So saying it without saying it, and I appreciate that he didn't duck it there. I have so much respect for how classy Nique Clifford has been throughout this entire process. Very clearly, the last couple minutes are a good example of it, but I would have been Tom Petty in that situation. I'd have been Richard Petty. I'd have been the most petty that Petty has ever pettied if I was Nique Clifford, because I would be talking my shit left and right. I would be talking about how they didn't believe in me, how all it took was an opportunity to come and show what I can do. And now look what I'm doing. I'm absolutely thriving. But Nique has taken the high road every single time. And I just think that it's a perfect representation of who he is as a person. And as much as I've enjoyed covering him from a basketball standpoint, getting to know him off the floor and just getting to see him become the player that I knew he could be from the start. I had such high hopes for him, and then surpass that has been so cool. And how can you not love Nique Clifford? I guess that's what I'll say. But here's some commentary from yesterday. Tad Boyle answering our good friend Tyler King of the Denver Gazette. And great question from TK, by the way.
You guys need to consistently have NBA players to compete at this level. That hasn't changed from the Pac-12, obviously. Does it at all sting as a coach when you have someone like a Nique Clifford who maybe you didn't get the most out of him here, but he goes on and becomes that somewhere else? How do you go through that?
No, look, number one, I'm really proud of Nique, and he's having the career and the year that we thought he could have when we recruited him out of Colorado Springs. He just finished it at Colorado State. And it's funny you bring up Nique because I have his stat line on my whiteboard in my office that I went through with our players yesterday that were returning. And it had his field goal percentage, his three-point field goal percentage, his free throw percentage, his assist turnover ratio the last year he was here. And his name's not on it. And he played 22 minutes a game that year. He started 33 out of 35 games. And it wasn't a good year for Nique. But you know what it taught me is here it is 2 years later, and he's going to be an NBA player, next year. I don't know where he'll get drafted or, how that's all going to shake out. But he's had a heck of a career. And it reaffirms to me it's a process. It took Nique Clifford 5 years to have this year. And it doesn't happen 1 year or after 2 years or sometimes even after 3 years. And maybe he needed a fresh start. I know our signing of Cody Williams had a lot to do with Nique leaving. It wasn't because he didn't like Colorado or Colorado didn't like him. He felt like he needed a fresh start. I respect that. I'm happy for him. He's a wonderful person, wonderful family, and I couldn't be happier for him. So, but it's interesting you bring him up because that's something I'm talking about with our players. They've heard the Derek White story. They've heard the Jabari Walker story and the Spencer Dinwiddie story and, all the stories that we have to tell in the recruiting process. But now what our players need to understand and hear is that you can still get to where you want to get. It's just going to take some time, and you have to respect the process. And in today's world, those kids see that exit sign, and it's blinking pretty darn loud for them, and they're hitting it a lot quicker and faster than they used to. And I'm trying to slow it down a little bit and make them understand you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, and the grass sometimes may look greener, sometimes it may be, many times it's not. So for every, Nique Clifford is a great story, for him. How many guys have transferred and it hasn't worked out? And the transfer has always been a part of college basketball, always will be. Football too, that's just part of it. I'm not trying to get away from that. I'm just trying to get my arms around it a little bit, especially in today's climate. And it's harder and harder.
I thought there were some really good quotes in there from Tad in terms of the process. I also, in principle, agree with him that the grass isn't always greener, though it certainly was for Nique in this case, and that cash is going to be greener as a result of it. But I just thought that perspective was interesting to hear. Did get some people with relationships to Nique that kind of responded to that online who are basically like, this guy's lying through his teeth. I'm just sharing what was commented, but interesting quote there. And again, CU's taken the high road. CSU and Nique have taken the high road with this whole situation as well, which I think is commendable and respectable. And, ultimately it's a situation that worked out probably fine for both sides. Like CU, they went to the tournament last year. Cody Williams, his top 10 pick, all that stuff. Nique, he gets a chance to reinvent himself in Fort Collins and goes from being a guy who's being run out of a program to potentially a lottery pick, and just doesn't get much cooler than that. And I wanted to kind of hit on that. Keep the questions, comments flying in the Toyota chat. I will get to as many of them as I can. I know we've got a great question here about John Weber. There was another one about investment in football versus basketball. I will get to that at the end, I promise you. Don't want to get too derailed here. I want to try and keep us on schedule as best as possible. But if you wouldn't mind giving us a thumbs up, if you're watching live on YouTube right now, I certainly would appreciate it. If you're listening later on, wouldn't mind commenting, giving a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple, all of that. It helps us pay the bills. So I appreciate everybody that continues to support the show. Let's get into this matchup. We're 35 minutes into the show. I want to talk CSU Memphis. I want to talk March Madness. This is my time of year. This is what I live for as a sports guy. I cannot wait to see if the Rams can keep up this incredible hot streak that they've been on. I already did the whole sentimental rant the other night on the audio only podcast about appreciating the moments and the uniqueness of this turnaround with this team and just how special it is. And basically, no matter what happens at this point, this has already been one of the most rewarding stretches professionally for me of my career. Getting to see CSU win a championship in person. I got the confetti behind me in the background. It makes me emotional, man. I've been following this program my entire life. You know, it's 2+ decades of this. I'm almost 30. I was 8 when they went on that crazy run in 03. Remember being stoked, but obviously, I mean, at 8, you don't really have an accurate gauge of just like how special that was at the time. But I think what's been so cool about this run is it's not just a fluky 3 or 4 day stretch in a conference tournament. This has been sustained success now for about 6 weeks. And what this team has done to put themselves in this position in the first place has been nothing short of remarkable. I have so much love for this team, and getting to follow it has been such a joy. And I just hope that we can keep perspective of that, especially as we all know in a single elimination format, you never know what can happen. Obviously the coaching carousel rumors, all of that, like there's a lot of other stuff that if you want to go that route, you can fixate on and be an Eeyore about the situation. But I think with what we've already seen, the fun we've already had, like it's kind of gravy at this point. Obviously, I want to win. Obviously, I want to see this program win not only tomorrow, I want to see them make the second weekend of the tournament. Like this team is good enough to make the Sweet 16. Probably going to run into Florida at that point, which would be tough, but you win a couple games, you get a little momentum going. Why not? Why not CSU? And that is the mindset that I'm going to take into March Madness. That's how I'm kind of trying to view it all. No matter what happens, this has been incredible. So let's enjoy it.
Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, our friends at Branded Bills have you covered with performance and with style. If you're looking for gear to make your brand stand apart, look no further than our friends at Branded Bills. They are the official partner of the DNVR Rams podcast. They have an on-campus partnership with CSU, and they have got some of the best gear around. We have made some really cool custom hats here in the All-City network. We've got DNVR gear. You can check out the CSU gear on campus if you want, but I want to save you guys money. That's always my goal. So check out their website. Again, they have an awesome collection. I've got 3 different Branded Bills CSU hats, rock them all the time. I've got a camo snapback. I've got a black and a gold option. Both of them are kind of that performance wear, which is perfect. You know, you can wear them outside. You can wear them, you know, if you're active, but they also look sharp with a polo or something like that. Head to brandedbills.com. Use that code BBDNVR for 15% off of your first order. I don't know about you guys. I am so stoked to go to more Avs games this winter. There's nothing like feeling the electricity of being in Ball Arena when, you know, McKinnon scores, Cale Makar, whoever it may be. There's just nothing like that magic of being at a live sporting event. Our friends at Game Time are trying to help you get the best deals in town. I love the Game Time app because it's incredibly easy to use. First of all, it's straightforward. The price you see is the price you pay. You're not going to get hit with 8 million fees like so many other sites out there. I love that it's easy to use. I love that they have so many options, zone deals, flash deals. They are constantly trying to make the process easier for you. Get your tickets to Avs games, Broncos games, Nuggets, theater, comedy, you name it. Game Time has got it. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code DNVR for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
What's up, y'all? We are back with another edition of DNVR Rams Live. Welcome to the Winners Lounge. We're going to rip that from the Nuggets, guys. It feels fitting. CSU takes down Memphis 78-70 in the opening round to advance to the round of 32. First time CSU has advanced to the round of 32 since 2013. The vibes are immaculate today, guys. I'm riding high at the moment. I tweeted, I'm emotional. I'm probably going to be really sappy throughout this broadcast, so you're going to have to rock with me and take it with a grain of salt. But as a lifelong CSU guy, somebody who has been wholeheartedly invested in CSU sports since he was about 7 years old, this run, 11 straight wins, seeing them win a Mountain West championship, advancing in the NCAA tournament, this has been as enjoyable as any experience that I can recall. It's just been so gratifying, so rewarding. I've got so much love for everybody in the CSU community, obviously, and today's for you guys, man. We've been through a lot over the years. It's not always easy to be a CSU fan in the state of Colorado. You know, we often get overshadowed. You guys know the deal. You can't tell me nothing right now. I feel full Stevie Janowski from Eastbound and Down. Like, I feel 10 feet tall and strong as an ox. I mean, you really can't tell me anything right now because CSU's in the round of 32. And this team just continues to compete and fight like hell and play their ass off. And just the resilience of this bunch to be able to keep this magic going has been nothing short of remarkable. And I know anything can happen in a single elimination format. Like, it's very realistic that the party comes to an end on Sunday, but none of us thought that we would be here in the first place. And honestly, while I am trying to temper expectations, just naturally, we've got 20 plus years of waiting for the other shoe to fall. Honestly, this team is good enough to hang with anybody in the country. They were underseeded in the first place. I understand you have to keep the totality of the resume. Like, it's not just a 2025 on sample size. You do have to include the total resume, I guess is what I was trying to say. But this team is good enough to go on a legitimate Cinderella story type run. They do not flinch, and they're just different. There's a feel to this team that's been different now for 4, 5, 6 weeks. It's why I was willing to go out on a limb, even when they were not even close to the bubble. But you could feel that something had turned with this team. And you knew it would take something pretty remarkable for them to get to this point, but that's exactly what they've done. They've just continued to fight. They've continued to show up when the lights are brightest, when the competition has gotten stiffer. This team has consistently risen to the moments. They've lived up to it in a way that has just really been rare historically for CSU, whether that's football, whether that's even volleyball and some of the other stuff. Like, as dominant as volleyball has been in the Mountain West, like, a lot of the time it's one and done in the tournament. Football, you know, haven't had a ton of success in the big games, bowl games. You know, we've all been there. We know the drill. We've made the jokes, Ram life, all of that. This has been different. And this team just continues to be different. And I know that we've seen CSU so many times in this spot come up short and leave us all feeling like dumb, basically, for believing that it could have been different in the first place. I certainly feel like there was some of that come football season. But this team, man, like, I never was sweating that much in terms of, like, actually feeling like it was over. They're down 5 at the half. Memphis really, I mean, they were pretty dominant there for about 10 minutes in that first half. Dane Danger, dude's a monster. We knew it going in. I mean, 6'7", 6'9", whatever he is, 240 pounds. He was taking our lunch money in the post. And I do feel like there were a couple of minutes there where the Rams maybe looked a little bit rattled. They weren't attacking with the same type of confidence offensively. They looked a little timid on the defensive side, as, you know, he was doing basically whatever he wanted in the paint. But I felt good because despite the fact that, like, Memphis had really owned, 8-10 minutes there of the game, the Rams were in a good spot. They were within 2 possessions. They're only down 5 at the half. And that's the key. Like, you just got to be able to hang in there for 40 minutes. You got to stay within the fight. Like, you better sign up for 40 when you play this CSU Rams team, because they're going to. I can promise you that. Like, this group is not going to lay down. They're not going to give up. You can't punk them. You might rattle them for a round or two, but they're going to come back punching, and then they're just going to find a way to get in the fight, and eventually the tide turned for them in that second half. And man, like, once it got rolling, it just felt like CSU was in control. It felt very similar to what we saw from this team in doing the Mountain West tournament, which is just really play some of their best basketball of the season when the stage has been the brightest. I mean, what can you say about Kyan Evans? 6 threes, an NCAA tournament record for CSU, a career high 23 points, 7 of 11 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3-point. Dude's got ice in his veins. Dane Danger was the best player on the floor for about, I don't know, we'll just say the first, 20 minutes. Cayenne was the best player on the floor for the second 20 minutes. And I've been pounding my chest. I've been pounding the table, I guess is the saying I'm trying to come up with here, for Cayenne now for a couple of months. And I've said it a million times. I think he has the opportunity to be a conference player of the year caliber point guard, all conference, all of that. I mean, I had him second team all conference this year. Some people were a little late to the party on that, seeing just how good he was. Obviously, he didn't get that all conference recognition, but we've seen it now in some of CSU's most hostile road environments. This dude is fearless. He's going to let it fly. And if you give him an inch, he has no problems, letting those things fly. And his athleticism is just incredible for a sophomore. He had just a beautiful transition pass after he ripped the ball away from a Memphis, ball handler and got the transition bucket. Don't remember who he stripped on that play, but he just is making really heady plays while also just killing teams from deep. And I'm not sure that we've ever had a 3-point shooter that's quite as lethal as Cayenne Evans appears to be. There are guys that could get hot. Like when Zay was rolling, he was definitely a great 3-point shooter. Gian Clavel, is a guy who could really heat up when he got it going. He was more of a volume shooter than the type of scorer we've seen Cayenne be from deep, which is like an NBA-esque, efficient but lethal 3-point shooter. Just stepped up in the biggest moment. And it wasn't the typical Nique Clifford scoring day. Like he struggled to get it going a little bit. Thought early that it might be his day because he hit a really tough mid-range fadeaway to get things going there. I felt like he got good looks throughout the matchup. It wasn't like Memphis completely had him out of sorts or anything like that. The shots just weren't falling. Maybe pressed a couple of threes there, but I felt like he impacted winning in a major way. I mean, he was 8 of 10 at the line. He had a team high 8 rebounds, 6 assists. 14, 8, and 6 is a pretty good game if that's an off day for you. Also had 2 steals and no turnovers, which was a big factor. We're going to get into a lot of those numbers there, but again, I feel like it's easy to fixate on the shots that Nique missed. And if you're going to do that, you at least have to acknowledge the plays that he made for his team. And I felt like one of the big differences in this matchup was, while neither guy's headliner coming in really lived up to the bill, it was kind of a rough scoring day for both Clifford and Haggerty, who I think if you were making like a mid-major All-American list, those would be 2 of the top 5 guys. I mean, they're playing as well as anybody in the country coming in, shouldering such a massive burden of their team's scoring responsibility. And neither of them really got it going. But the difference between Nique Clifford and Haggerty was that instead of consistently pressing things, trying to play hero ball, jacking up a bunch of shots like Haggerty did in that second half, Nique just continued to let the game come to him. He played within the flow. He got to the free throw line. He made some really savvy passes to open shooters instead of trying to do too much. Like his growth and his maturity, it's been huge. And you have to have the wherewithal to defer occasionally. And when the shot's not falling, all right, I got to do something else. I got to put the ball on the floor. I got to get to the free throw line. I've got to facilitate for others. And I just felt like he did a tremendous job doing that. You got to credit some of those other guys around him for stepping up and knocking down shots. Cayenne was obviously red hot from deep. He did a lot of that damage from beyond the arc, but Jalen Lake hit the dagger, and he had a couple of big ones early as well. I felt like he quietly had a really nice game in this one. We're going to talk about all of that here in just a second, but just kind of wrapping up this opening segment here and the general instant reaction to all of this. What a transcendent moment as a CSU fan. We've been through so much over the years to be able to get this moment. For me, it's up there with the greatest sporting experiences of my lifetime. I go back to Rocktober and that incredible journey with the Rockies in 2007. The Nuggets winning an NBA championship meant a lot to me, mostly because for a lot of my life, I didn't think that would even be possible. That was just such a overwhelming experience. Super Bowl 50 meant a lot after, coming up short, and, the first two Super Bowls they won in the 90s, I was too young to fully appreciate. It's like Super Bowl 50 meant a whole lot to me, but this run, it means as much as any of those. Like, legitimately winning a championship at the professional level any football season I can recall. It's just amazing. Shout out to everybody in the Toyota chat, by the way, that's rocking with us. It's really active. I love to see it. My guy Aaron Harris out in Seattle says, to all the Ram fans in Seattle, there's a group of us at Kel's Irish, walking distance from the arena. It's the Lucky Joes of Seattle. I've gotten a lot of comments, really kind messages from CSU fans that have been essentially like, you should be here. If anybody should be here, you should be here. And I'll be honest, the FOMO was real today. It hurt me a little bit to not be there in person for it, but maybe this was the sacrifice that was needed with the basketball gods, with the universe. If that's the case, if that's what needed to happen for this team to keep this magic up, was me making a sacrifice, I can live with that, especially if they end up going to the Sweet 16 for the first time in my lifetime, trying to do so for the first time since 1968, I believe. They actually beat CU in the Sweet 16 in the late 60s to advance to the Elite Eight, where they eventually lost to Drake. But this has just been incredible. And I really do hope that Ram fans are able to grasp the moment, fully appreciate how special and unique all of this has been. Just put it in context of like how so many of our seasons have gone in the past. And yeah, at this point, like, this team is good enough, they're hot enough that why not CSU? We want to get greedy. We want to see them make as much noise as possible. I said it before, I'll say it again. This team is good enough to be a legitimate Cinderella story. They may be a 12 seed, but they sure as hell aren't playing like a 12 seed right now. And I don't care if it's Maryland. I don't care if it's GCU. I don't care if it's anybody. CSU, with the way they're playing, stick their chests out, talk their shit like they should. The Rams have earned that at this point. Now, is it going to be a really tough draw? Without a doubt. I mean, if you get the 4 seed in Maryland, which is what it looks like at last I checked, they were up double digits on GCU. You're going to have to deal with a lot of the same disparity in athleticism and just size. They're going to be a much bigger team than you, but you can't shake this team. You can't punk the Rams, and they've continued to show that. It's just been such a blast. I just want to see this continue. Want to see this team go to the Sweet 16 so bad. I mean, anything beyond that, honestly, anything beyond this is pretty much just gravy based on where the team was at versus where they are now. We've seen them just do so many cool things, but at this point, I won't lie, I am getting greedy. Why not CSU? Why can't they keep this going? We are going to take a quick break here. I got to shout out a couple of our partners. Then we are going to talk about some of the key stats. I'll get into some more takeaways. We'll shout out a bunch of individuals. I do feel like this win was kind of perfectly representative of what CSU is this season. They've got a couple of guys that are their lead horses, Nique and Cayenne, Jalen Lake as well. I think he often has gotten overlooked a little bit here down the stretch. But, I mean, this team is just, it's a ragtag bunch of guys that all understand their roles. It's a lot of selfless individuals who are willing to put their body on the line, who are willing to sacrifice minutes, individual glory, all of that, because they want to win. You've got dudes that are hungry, that are desperate to prove themselves. You've got guys that are looking to redeem themselves. And it's just resulted in a really, really hungry, competitive team. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
The holiday season is here. There's nothing like getting the gear from Dick's Sporting Goods. You can get your DNVR gear at Dick's now, which is surreal. I remember back, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were like a company of 15 people in a little office. Now we're in all of Dick's Sporting Goods around the metro area. If you're looking for Broncos gear, Nuggets gear, Avs gear, whatever it may be for you or the sports fan in your life, look no further than Dick's Sporting Goods. They have got the top footwear around: Nike, Adidas, Hoka, You name it, they've got it. Kalia, they've got the best gear, whether, you need something for tailgating. Maybe you got to pick your kid up some new baseball gear for the spring. Look no further than Dick's Sporting Goods. Get your gear fast with free curbside pickup at your nearest store or easy shipping from Dicks.com, because every season starts at Dick's. Guys, it's easy to get worked up during the holiday season. It's easy to not choose chill. Our friends at Coors Light, they of course encourage you to rise above, to choose chill. In those moments of chaos and those high moments of stress, maybe you're doing some last minute Christmas shopping and you got to deal with the chaos that is the mall, and you're trying to find a parking spot, and every store you go in, it's got 8 billion people. It's enough to get a guy worked up, but you don't want that to be something you take into the rest of your day. Go home, do the little things, take a deep breath, take the dog for a walk, put yourself in that chill state of mind, then throw the game on, maybe invite some friends over, crack open that ice cold Coors Light. There is absolutely nothing like it. Mountain cold refreshment. Coors Light is cold lagered, it's cold filtered, and it's cold packaged for that smooth finish. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Beer.
Big thank you to Ali Farokhmanesh for giving me the time of day to do this. It's a really busy time of year with recruiting, the portal, everything going on. Like, for him to do this, it speaks to his character. Not a lot of coaches would do that in his situation. And a big thank you to Ryan Pfeiffer of CSU Athletics for making this all come together. I know you guys are going to enjoy the conversation. So without further ado, my exclusive interview with Ali Farokhmanesh. Very special guest today. We have Ali Farokhmanesh joining us on the pod for the first time as head coach of the men's basketball program. Been on with us in the past as the lead assistant. It's been a whirlwind. The guys are busy recruiting. They've got all kinds of stuff going on. I guess first things first, just how are you doing, man? How are you and the entire Farokhmanesh family, adjusting to this new life?
Man, it's been awesome so far. I think the weirdest thing, I was telling Mal the other day, I think it was on Thursday or Friday, and I was like, how long has it been since the press conference? And she's like, it's only been 7 days. And I'm like, man, it literally feels like about 75. So in that sense, a lot's been going on, a lot of changes. Even Mal looked at my phone the other day and had like 34 missed phone calls in one day. So it's hard. I think the hardest thing, to be completely honest about it from my standpoint, is just not being able to reach back out to people that have reached out to me yet. I think that's the hardest thing. And also giving myself some grace, knowing that like there's a few other things I need to take care of to do right by the job first before I get back to everybody else. But there'll be a time and place when I'll be able to get back to everybody.
This new calendar is just absurd. Like the last couple of years, I mean, being a basketball coach was always intensive. And I know that there are a lot of fans that'll hear me say stuff like this and kind of roll their eyes, just because I think it's no secret. Like, you make pretty good money in that industry, but I just don't know how you guys do it these days. Like, to go from the grind of March Madness immediately into trying to build your roster for next season. This season's not even over yet. Like, what are we doing? Yeah,
that sucks, to be honest. I think it's bad for the kids. I think it's bad for the players, the coaches. It's not the timing of this is awful. It's the same thing with football, though. Like, they don't celebrate their season; they just go into the portal. You got kids even finishing their seasons out knowing they're going in the portal like a day before, and then their team loses and they're already at another school 2 days later. It's hard, and I don't blame the kids and I don't blame the coaches. It's honestly the scheduling, and there needs to be some leadership changes, or some leadership needs to step up and make some changes at some point too, because I think it's in the long run, it's hurting the game of basketball. And I think that's the overlying problem with all this is we've all become a little more greedy. We've all wanted to take certain things away, and it's led us to this point of there's a little too much greediness in college basketball from both sides of the fence.
How surreal was all that, just to go from, I mean, you guys are on a double-digit win streak. Like, you've won the Mountain West. You won a big-time NCAA tournament game. You're right there in the heat of the battle. Obviously, some calls don't go CSU's way in the end. I think, minor aside, I don't know if refs know what a travel is. It feels a lot like a catch in football these days. Like, you can debate it back and forth. But just how weird was it to go from that, you're in the heat of it, you guys are grinding, hoping to make a Sweet 16, to within 36 hours, like it's all over now. Nico's going to Minnesota. You're hoping to get the job, obviously. Like it felt like it kind of ended like that.
Yeah, no, it did. Like, and I felt bad for our guys. There was not even an opportunity to grieve about the season in some ways. Like, I think you have to, when your season ends, it literally, it's a whole process. There's the grieving point when like you're kind of going through the season's over and it is going to be different. You got people moving in and out, then everything's new. You go back to all of a sudden you have free time, which these guys never have. And there's so many different changes with that. And then on top of that, for us, you have Nico that's gone literally by noon the next day, already in Minnesota. So they lose on Sunday, we get back, and then by noon the next day, we're all finding out that there's going to be an even bigger change. So I think for those guys to be able to process all that in the span of 36 hours that's not normal. And then again, 36 hours later or 72 or however long it took, excuse me, then they got to process that they don't know who their head coach is yet. And then I'm run in and say, hey, it's me. And I think all of that put together, that's hard for an 18 to 22-year-old to deal with and try to make decisions on what they're going to do next too at the same time.
Was that a weird process for you to be involved in individually? Just because, I mean, you've been with Nico, for 8 years. You guys are really tight. I think anybody that actually knows Nico personally is excited for him. Like, it's a chance to go back to his alma mater. He's earned it. But you're in the weird spot of like having to still coach these kids. The writing's kind of on the wall from like the beginning of the Mountain West tournament on. Like, it wasn't a big secret that he was very much in the mix for that gig. Like, how do you balance all that?
Yeah, I can probably say this now. It got really awkward when we're playing Boise State, and it went quiet when Kyan got the flagrant one. And you started hearing the Boise State crowd start chanting Minnesota in the middle of the game. That got a little awkward. But it's part of it. And anybody that, just what you said, everybody that knows Nico, like, that's home. That has a different feel for him. And I think it still was hard for Nico to leave. I mean, you're looking outside this window right now, and I can see Long's Peak and Horsetooth right outside this office, and the sun's shining. It's just not an easy place to leave. And I think he struggled with it still, even knowing that that's home. He coached there. He was a manager there. He went back and then was an assistant coach, then got bumped up to be one of the top assistants when Dan Munson got let go. So that has a different feel than just another job for him. I mean, his mom and dad live there, and they're 84 years old. So that's part of it too. And then his two brothers live there. So, I mean, it's more than just he went to school there. There's a lot more dynamics to it. And I think there was a bunch of things that it was not going to matter whether he was going to leave or not.
I'm with you. I mean, I think it's hard to turn down just on a human level. Like, obviously there's the professional element of it, of a chance to coach in the Big Ten, and there's the monetary element of it. Like, we all get it. Every school has a certain amount of resources. There's levels to all this. But I do think it is a little bit of a bummer that it just ended so quickly. Like you said, I get that the calendar is what it is, but just this team was so special. And like, I don't know. I remember talking to you like after games off the record back in like mid-January, and it was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like this team is maybe starting to turn a corner. And obviously, like, what happened would have been the most optimistic projection of all time. People would have called me a total homer, but you could feel that something switched. And like, by the time we got to February, I just kind of consistently was like, look, guys, they're going to have to do something remarkable. But I think the possibility of making the tournament is much more realistic than we all would have thought, mid-December. And to do that, like, just what a special run it was. And what was it like to be a part of that?
It was awesome. Like, that was the most fun I've had coaching a group in my entire career. They bought into the individual development, the team development. They stayed with it when things were bad. And it's hard. I think that's the hardest thing, especially for a guy like a Bowen or Ethan Morton, that this is their last year and we're sitting there 5-5. And the only thing that Ethan and Bowen talked about was going to the NCAA tournament. So you're dealing with that also, those expectations. And we kind of let go of everything. And I think we never talked about the NCAA tournament. We never talked about winning games, even, to be completely honest. It was more just like, honestly sticking to the process of what we're trying to build, and each individual continuing to get better. And our staff did a great job of diving in on that. We've got even more intentional about how these guys were going to improve, and their buy-in. That's great to have all those things, right? You have to, like, if you want to have a chance, but the number one thing you have to have is buy-in from that. And everybody did, even our fifth-year seniors that, they got 4 months left or 3 months left in their senior year, and they bought into even growing their games. And I think that's what we have to rely on in this program. And I think the best programs in the country, that's what they rely upon too, is you got to get talent in here, but then how do you develop it from there?
How did it feel to finally kind of get over the hurdle there? Because, like, you guys have been a really good program for, 5-6 years now, really, since you guys came in and established your foundation, sent guys to the league. You had Roddy and Stevens and all this, but it just kind of cracked me up. Like, and I mean this endearingly, but for this, group of misfit toys to, like, come together and that be the group that wins the first conference championship in 20-something years, to me, this is, in a modern era, kind of like what's romantic about college basketball. Like, this is what it's all about, is the group and the team. And maybe on paper it wasn't the flashiest team you guys have ever coached, but they sure as hell were one of the toughest teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, and they were connected, and that was what was fun. Like, they were really connected. And when you have two of your best players that are your most unselfish guys, and Nique and Lake, you always have a chance. And those dudes showed up every single day. And that's the best example we can have from our culture, is just look at Jalen Lake. I don't have to really say much else after that. Like, you can figure it out from there. But it's this year and this team, and it was funny, I was telling Nico that I think it was after we won the Mountain West tournament, and I just looked at him and I was like, after all the teams that we've had here, did you think this was going to be the team? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You totally. Go back to Roddy's team. That Roddy team, John Tonje is going to be in the NBA now. And you had Roddy, Zay, and John all on the same team. So you had 3 NBA players right there. And then you look back at not this past year, but the year before. You got all 5 guys that graduated and left, all playing professionally at some level. So we had, like, it's crazy to think that this team was the best one or that did the most or whatnot. But shoot, they really did. No one else can say that. It's hard to argue against everything that they did this past season. And then you can argue, like, if that team from the year before didn't have to play in the play-in game, maybe they make a little
There's
bit.
There's a lot of context, for sure.
Because we had no chance with the amount of rest we got for that Texas game. But this team did it, and they showed up every night, and they're 3 seconds away from a Sweet 16. And I don't think anyone would have said that after the loss at Colorado or the loss versus Riverside. I sure as hell didn't.
I struggle because I'm so proud, and, like, it was so much fun to get to go on this run that, like, I really can't ask for more objectively. But it stings for me knowing that you guys proved you belonged. And I think that's how, like, a lot of Ram fans feel. And it's cool. Like, you guys went to the tournament. You proved you belonged without a doubt. You beat Memphis. You had Maryland right there on the ropes. But that's what stings for me, is just always the what if of, like, man, this group deserved a Sweet 16. Just after everything they've been through. Like, the travel call, put all that stuff aside. Just the effort that this team put in. Like, I feel like they deserved a little bit better than they got, but it was also kind of perfect, because we all know this is what sports are. Like, it's a lot of heartbreak.
No, absolutely. And it's hard. Like, that's what you love about sports, right? It's 3 seconds is the difference between us going absolutely insane and that it changes your whole outlook on what's next, and you feel the complete 180 the opposite direction. And there's not very many things in life that you can say that about. And that's why we love this. That's why we show up every day, and it's addictive in some ways. But absolutely, I think that's the hardest thing. Any season's hard. No matter when we were going to lose, it was going to be really hard, because I love showing up every day. Like, it's not, I'm going to miss, I'm sure in next November I'll say, like, yeah, I missed Nique's 20-10, but I am going to miss more so just seeing Nique every day and seeing that smile, seeing Ethan Morton walk in the gym and, like, he's just ready to go and excited to be here. Bowen Bourne just diving on every loose ball, and, like, his blood is just all over Moby. Like, those things, I'm going to miss that more so than just them being great basketball players. But in November, you ask me that again, Justin, I'll probably miss him too.
That's fair. He's pretty good. Made your guys' job a little bit easier. I guess kind of off of that, though, than just I mean, obviously it's going to be a massive challenge trying to make up for what has been lost from a leadership standpoint alone. I mean, the buckets too, obviously, but Nique, Lake, like those are staples of the program. How big was it though to be able to maintain just a little bit of continuity, like getting guys like Bemba and some of these people back that have been in the program and Shelton and some of these coaches, so that it's not a total reset like going into next year?
No, absolutely. I think that was the main reason that I wanted to stay, is I thought we could keep some continuity. Now it's harder than ever. And I don't blame kids at all for if the money is the best route for you, or that's what interests you the most, well, then that's up to you. That's your prerogative. And it's hard for me to really tell these kids to turn them down. Like
it's life-changing money in a lot of these instances.
Right. And I think that's you have to weigh those decisions still. Like, just because that's life-changing money, like our situation is very competitive. Like, it's not like we're pushing pennies for these guys over here too. But like, it's going to be a difference, and there's always somebody else has more money somewhere. But now you have to weigh that decision. Is this the best thing for your long-term of your career, or is this the best thing for next year only? And that's what you have to weigh. Like, what is your decision? What are the consequences that go with this? If things don't go well, where are you going from there? And I think those are the hard things that you got to weigh when you're making this choice. And the best thing for us, we've had proof now that, yeah, if you stay, things have worked out for a lot of guys that have stayed here. And that probably goes into next year's roster too. Justin is just, we've also had a returning player that had the opportunity to go to the NBA coming back for the last 4 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And we don't have that this year. This is the first time we haven't had that now. So it's a completely different dynamic than what we've had. And it's going to be different. We're going to have to build the culture a little bit different. We're going to have to be even more intentional of how we set it. We'll let it happen organically because each team's different. But I think as a staff, we have to be able to intentionally put them in situations to let that culture get built.
This holiday season, make your party stand out with our friends at Raising Cane's. Make any holiday get-together a celebration with Raising Cane's. When you bring Raising Cane's chicken fingers, it's always going to take things to the next level. So maybe you're having a holiday party. Maybe you're going to be doing some tailgating this weekend. Maybe you are fortunate enough to spend Christmas Day at Arrowhead. If you are going to do something like that, take the experience to the next level with our friends at Raising Cane's. Make sure you check out their new jugs of freshly brewed sweet tea. They've got freshly squeezed lemonade. I'm a big Arnold Palmer guy. That sounds awesome. There's no need to stress this season. You can order your favorite chicken fingers on the go at raisingcanes.com. Make sure you try everything they've got to offer. That sweet cane sauce is awesome. I'm a big fan of the Texas toast. Nothing like it. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. I also want to talk to you guys about the official vehicle of DNVR. Of course, I'm talking to you about Toyota. Toyota is perfect for Colorado living because they have an option for everybody. You know, whether you need an SUV, whether you're looking for a pickup truck, which of course have always been a big part of Toyota's DNA, Toyota's going to have something for you. Check out the Tacoma. Check out the Land Cruiser. They've got 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, which makes them perfect for Colorado living. Maybe you want to hit the slopes. Maybe you want to cruise around Cap Hill. The Toyota is going to be perfect for you. They've got 16 hybrid vehicles to choose from. So if you're looking to, cut back on your economic impact, Toyota is perfect. I love Toyota. I love, driving it around. My father-in-law's got a 4Runner. It's awesome. You just can't go wrong with it in Colorado. Toyota is a proud partner of CSU Athletics. They are the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places.
Really thankful to CSU Athletics for including us in this little Denver trip. I'm thankful to Emily Cohen for giving us some of her time. And now we've got the head honcho, the big man himself coming on, CSU AD John Weber. I'm excited about it. John, if you want to come over here, we can get it going. Yeah, a lot of stuff happening in CSU Rams country. I think this is as excited as I've been going into a fall and in quite some time. But we also just had a pretty sweet summer. Canvas hosting, the PBR, successful first, big ticketed non-football events. What are your thoughts on how that all went, and just what could that mean for, the future of CSU in the facility?
Yeah. How about that? We're not just going to put on a concert. We're going to put 12 inches of dirt in the stadium and bring about 60 bulls into the stadium as well. It was that was a really, really fun time for us. The PBR folks were fantastic to work with, and super excited to bring them back again next year.
Are you surprised how smoothly it went? I mean, I've just heard glowing reviews. Like this was not a small operation that you pulled off.
It was not a small operation at all. It was very complicated, but you know what? That's what my team does for a living. That's what the PBR team does for a living, and we worked really, really well together. It went great.
How would you describe CSU's relationship with Under Armour? You know, I saw earlier this week you guys went out to the headquarters. What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of that was just to go visit one of our key partners and understand a little bit more about who they are and what they're doing and where they're headed. We had an opportunity to go out there and tour their brand new facility that they just moved into in December, and learn a lot more of what they're doing on the innovation side of things. We're able to see things that we won't see in stores and teams for another 2 years down the road, sort of thing. So it was a great trip, and it was well worth the trip for us to go out there.
Do you feel like they've done a good job of prioritizing CSU? I mean, look, like everybody is going to have their opinions on certain brands. Some people, I want Nike, I want Adidas, whatever. But I mean, I pointed out a bunch of times, it wasn't that long ago we were rocking Russell and didn't have very many options. And now we've got all these sweet alternates. And like, it seems like they've done a really good job of.
Yeah, we're important to Under Armour, and Under Armour is important to us. So, really look forward to to working with them, and they've supported us in phenomenal ways in the past, and and I tell you what, when we need something, we pick up the phone and we get it, and that's a great relationship for us to be able to do that.
Any chance we could see any new type alternates or anything like that down the line?
No comment.
No comment. I get it. Can only say so much. You've been pretty open since taking over about, really wanting to strive for more and having big expectations. And, I meant when you introduced Ali Farokhmanesh, you talked about, we were a couple seconds from a Sweet 16 and that could be the floor, not the ceiling. How do you feel CSU as an institution is I guess, like, do you like where it's going and what you guys are doing to reach that goal? I mean, you did win 5 conference championships this past year.
We did. It was we had a great year last year, and someone else asked me that same similar question earlier today, and my first response was not satisfied.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I'll tell you, that nothing moves the needle more for us as an institution than competing on the national stage and winning when we get there. So that's really the focus that we have. Every single one of our programs, is striving for more, is striving for championships. This is our last opportunity to put some Mountain West Conference trophies in the case, and we're going to do everything we can to collect as many of those as we can here in the next year and go into the Pac-12 with a full head of steam.
I understand every season's going to be different. There's going to be various factors, injuries, whatever, weird stuff can happen, but what do you look at when CSU football, for instance, like what would constitute a successful season to you, and what kind of factors into that?
So and you said you answered your own question a little bit there at the beginning, but what we all strive for is momentum and continuous improvement, and that takes many different forms and results in many different things. But what we're really after is how do we continue to build a program. And that goes, not just for Coach Norvell, but it goes for us as well. There's a lot of things that we're doing differently off the field now, in terms of how my direct team, how do we support our programs. So whether that's in the form of nutrition, whether that's in the form of some mental health support, there's a lot of things that we're doing behind the scenes that aren't making headlines that that are really, really important and really impactful on our programs.
I was fortunate to get an opportunity to speak with you a little bit out at Media Days, Jay Norvell as well. One of the things that I asked him was just like, do you feel that you and admin are on the same page in terms of your vision for the future of the program? And he said, you'd probably have to ask them that. So I'll pose that question to you. Do you feel that you and Jay have similar visions for what the program should be and are doing the things to get there?
We absolutely do. We both talk openly about how are we able to compete at the highest level? How do we win a championship in our conference? And how do we get into the CFP? And then when we get there, how do we advance? In terms of what moves the needle more for our institution, the championships does it. And I know he's hungry for one. We're all hungry for one, and we're going to keep going until we get that done.
Like, it's no secret that football always is in the biggest spotlight. In some ways, does it even put like more pressure on football when all these other programs do, win titles and it's been 2 decades for football?
Yeah, all of our programs are important. Certainly with football, it gets a significant more amount of coverage, more than other programs do. But we're committed to making sure that we've got an opportunity to win championships across the board.
I'd like to pitch an idea to you,
Let's go.
and you don't have to say like, oh yes, we're doing it or not. But one of the things I've talked about, given the move to the Pac-12,
Yep.
You're losing Air Force as an annual matchup. So you're losing a traveling trophy that's going to be in play every single year. I've talked about the potential of maybe CSU and Utah State, 80 matchups all time, 40-38 too. So it's been highly competitive, basically 500 each way. What do you think about it?
So there's a new AD. Actually, there's an interim AD at Utah State. It's an interesting concept. You're not the first that's talked about it. How about that?
I like it. I'm still going to take credit if it comes through.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that. But
fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know. I just thought, it's regional. It feels more in line of traditional college
there's
football.
Aggie roots for both the schools. So yes.
Interesting. Keep an eye out, Ram fans. That's not a yes, but it's not a no either. And again, we're going to give me the credit, even if it isn't really the truth. I know we don't have too much time here because we got to get Jay on the show as well, and you guys got to get back up north.
Yep.
But the move to the Pac-12 that was announced almost a year ago. Had you and Amy on, and obviously very excited at the time, and I think everybody is still very excited. But there's just been so much going on, and I know you can't talk about certain things, but just like, do you feel that the last year, the things that have been put into motion, is this going in the direction that you envisioned when you made the big move?
Yeah, absolutely. We are surrounded with institutions that have similar aggressive desires as Colorado State does. We've got a team at the Pac-12 that is aggressive as well in terms of how do they operate a conference in a way that gives their membership some competitive advantage. So we've got a lot of like minds working together, I'm really bullish on where we're headed with this. I think it's going to be a great thing for Colorado State. It's a big step for us. But we also have to go in there with a full head of steam. We've got to go into that Pac-12. We've got to be highly competitive. And we're going to win. We're going to win a lot, but it's important for us.
Any chance we see Wyoming in 26 or 27?
Small, very small chance. It's obviously we would love to play them, but both of our non-conference schedules are full right now. It's unlikely, but would certainly love to be able to figure that out.
Is it kind of weird to handle scheduling at the moment, just given like you could be playing a 9-game conference schedule, could be an 8-game conference schedule?
Yeah, well, we're actively working through that at the Pac-12 level, as you can probably imagine, and running multiple different scenarios with that. But one of the things that's important to us is how do we get 7 home every time?
Yeah,
and that's a different way of scheduling. I've made some recent remarks around. In this college football playoff era, the scheduling is really, really an art, and we've got to be very, very intentional with who we're playing and when and where to give ourselves the best possible chance of making it through the non-conference season with quality wins, and then focusing on the conference season and winning a championship. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to make sure that we're doing the right things there.
Are you surprised more schools don't try and do it?
More schools do what?
Trying to get the 7 home games. I mean, it just seems so smart.
Well, it's a common thing for a lot of the power institutions to do that. But I would imagine that there's going to be a lot more effort around that, because if you can play in front of your home team for a 7th time, you want to do that.
John, thank you so much for coming on. It's
Absolutely.
always an
Thanks
honor
for
when I
having
get to talk with you, and we're all really excited about the future of CSU.
Too. So come on out to Fort Collins this fall and winter, folks. All right.
Get up here.
Thank you guys for listening to the DNVR Rams podcast. I hope you have had an awesome year. I hope you have an awesome holiday season. Check out brandedbills.com. Use that code BBDNVR for 15% off of your first order. Much love, y'all. We are always proud to be. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.